You know what's good, Dan?
I know it's really good.
Telemetry.
That's the best.
Yeah. I think for folks in the Linux circles, maybe the telemetry that's more their speed is the super low level stuff that, can't possibly have personally identifiable information in it. And it also helps the maintainers.
Absolutely.
Think of things like popcon in Debian. It's not the best place to get your information from as a maintainer, but it does give you a general idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps the maintainers, right? Like it helps them know what to focus on. And, if nobody's installing this package anymore, do we need to keep packaging it?
Right. Right.
So it's a good thing. And for the never telemetryer folks, I think this is a step that maybe even those folks can tolerate.
Yeah, because, even if you got your tinfoil hat aligned up there,
and sometimes I do.
There's still anonymous things that you can send. Exactly, right? Like package statistics and whatnot to know, how many installs of a thing exist. I think that's important. Yeah, and it as long as you are given a choice of how much you can get involved and contribute there, as far as the information, I think, that's fine. At least you've got the option to say, nope, you're not getting anything from me. Or, I want you to know this because I feel like it's important so that you can continue to maintain the thing that I love. Those are the two directions you want to go, probably. So
yeah, yep. So I've got two suggestions on this one, but all of them, both of them, include having something that does this basic telemetry installed by default, right? But before it ever sends anything, a little pop-up comes up, or it's in the welcome screen that you're not allowed to skip, right? You have to answer the question. Now, my heart says there are two options, right? Opt-in, opt-out. And the radio button for opt-in is already filled out. It's already chosen. And if you want to leave it alone, you just click next. But I know that there's a big rebuttal against that, which is, the choice is already made for you. But then that also negates having it opt out filled in for you as well, right? So my heart says leave it opt in, leave it up to the user to change it or not. But to those that may have a problem with that, maybe the answer is don't select either and force the user to choose one.
Yeah. So no defaults. The default is none selected.
Yeah, the default is
you
null.
have to select something to move on.
Right, exactly. And you can't move on. Like how GNOME does it, where it drops you into that first user creation thing where you can't even do you can't launch a browser or anything.
Right.
Before you get through the welcome screen stuff. And, that's when it should happen. Before you can accidentally send information. Before your system is customized in any way.
So this is one of the things I actually noticed in the new Plasma Welcome, which Plasma Welcome is very much like the GNOME welcome thing. And it's
a good idea.
It's distro independent. And one of the last pages in that welcome thingy.
The slider.
There's a slider. Yeah, you can pick, it's on a sliding scale even. And it is set to none by default. But you can slide that all the way over and give them everything, or you can kind of pick one of the ones in between, which only give certain things. So that's, I think, a lot of different people are trying for the same things that we're talking about in order to get more information, to be informed, to be able to, deliver a better product, essentially.
Yeah. Now, I can't remember, actually. I'm thinking about it because I know that I explicitly, on this machine right here that's running Plasma 6 on Fedora Rawhide, which I need to get off of
Right.
I need help. Send help. How do I get off of that?
I got a plan. We got help.
Okay, cool. You got a plan. I'm gonna trust you.
Okay.
But one of the that's one that I very much remember, and
Right.
I made it a distinct point to. I don't remember if I had to do it or I just left it, but it is all the way to the right. It is give the
Drag that
plasma
bad boy
folks
over there.
whatever they want, and whatever they want was, it didn't include my credit card information or anything like that, right? Like, and it wouldn't I hope so in the future. But I trust these folks. They're big enough. They move slowly enough. I mean, yeah, even the move to QT6, right? Like that still had to happen.
Yeah.
But they move slow enough that, stuff like that, you would see it coming before any of that stuff actually got deployed or, trickled down to any distro or anything like that. But, I cranked it all the way up.
So did I.
All the way to 11.
Yes, I did too.
And I think that's always going to be my stance, I think, for people that have earned the trust that we have given them, right?
Well, I'll tell you some of the other... I think you
crank it all the way up.
Yeah, and I'll tell you some of the other reasoning why I dialed it all the way up. So I might not on every machine. Hear me out.
Oh,
so
okay.
Like you're right. Like
nuance. Yeah. Get this out of here.
I know. This is a machine that I'm actually hoping to give my feedback to the developers, right? And so I did dial it all the way up on that one. It's a laptop. I know I'm doing some testing, if you will. Might be long-term testing because I really like Plasma 6, but that's just me. And so I did dial it all the way up. I might not on my desktop though, because I kind of do maybe some more sensitive stuff there, and maybe I don't want everything to get out. And so I'm still giving some valuable feedback from a machine I use on a regular basis, but not necessarily my main desktop machine, which I might do some different things on, if you will.
Okay.
So that's my thoughts.
Okay. But that's really interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So
I don't nuance never occurred to me, I guess.
Having the option gives you that ability, right? I mean, yeah. So it's nice. I guess where are we going with all of this is what the dear listener is asking, though, Leo.
I know, right? They said it was feedback driven. What are they rambling about for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, that's what we do. So we actually did get some feedback in Matrix from Dan. Not this Dan, a different Dan.
Other Dan Johansen in Matrix.
Yep. And so Dan said, I would like to submit a pick focus for the next show, the Arch Linux package stats. So it has a system D timer that you can enable, which will send stats every week or every 2 weeks. I see it. I think, yeah. So Dan sets it as a weekly timer so that it can be started with, sudo system control enable now package stat timer thing. He sets the system D timer to do it every week, and it sends information about the Arch packages that he has installed.
Mm-hmm. And so this is Arch PopCon, basically. If you're familiar with Debian's PopCon, it gives you an idea of what packages are installed on your system. And as that changes, as it always does, I mean, especially on an Arch, I would imagine, you're adding and removing stuff. That gets updated so that the maintainers get a really good view, a semi-good view of what kind of packages people install. But here's the thing, right?
Not just packages, versions too, right? So you can probably get some trends as far as when people and how much people update and stuff as well.
So I want to know. I want to see the output of the package stats thing. And by the way, that's pkgstats. So pkg stats. Install that. And by the way, the Dan learned a little later on that it enables automagically as you install the package. As part of the hooks that happen after you install the package, the timer gets enabled. So you don't have to do anything other than install it, and it takes care of it. But the cool thing, I think, about that is that I want to see the output of it, just because do people on Arch really do what some people say on the internet, which is update like multiple times a day? Like what percentage of people? But I think
I don't
more
know
than
if you
that,
could dive into it that far necessarily, at least for the things that are, well, so they do have some graphs and stuff that are published, right? And so
yeah,
I'll share some links for that. It's in the Arch Wiki
cool.
on the package stats page. They've got a couple of links there, and I'll make sure to share those. I mean, you can actually search for any particular package and find out, the install base necessarily. And there's an API. There's like all kinds of things you can glean from some of this stuff. And I'll definitely share the Arch Wiki page so that people can go and read about it themselves and decide whether or not they want to enable it. And so they have like this one little graph that is, they call it the fun page. And no surprise, Firefox is really towards the top of the browsers that are installed.
Okay, Firefox is cheating because Firefox is installed by default in every Arch system.
Well, not everyone though.
Oh, I guess not, right? Oh,
right?
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, so Endeavor OS could install package stats.
Right. Oh yeah. So
okay.
So absolutely, some of the Arch variants might have different, packages that you wouldn't think of as a normal, right? By default.
And Manjaro would count too, right?
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Manjaro, Endeavor, all of the Arch folks, right? Anyway, it's kind of cool to see at a glance some of these things. And
yeah, I love it.
Like Nano, really high, obviously, because it's by default.
Yeah, I think that one's even in the Arch handbook, right? Like it's like VI or Nano, and then I think most people opt for Nano.
Vim's pretty high too, so just keep that in mind. But interestingly, when you go down to the desktop environments, Plasma.
Is it?
Plasma top. It's 33.79%, and GNOME Shell next at 21.11%.
See, man, I've always had this gut feeling that, people that are about getting a desktop that looks good, but it gets out of your way.
Mm-hmm.
It's Plasma every time, every single time. GNOME is great. I think up until recently I preferred GNOME. Now they're neck and neck. I don't know what to do. I'm at a loss, but that's encouraging. Going to Plasma seems like what everybody else has done too, or at least more than half of the two top desktop counts.
It seems like, this is, I mean, you have to do with these numbers what you want, but interestingly, nobody ripped out Perl out of their distribution, probably because it's very tightly integrated into any Linux system. Like, you would really struggle if you did not have Perl. That's
Perl and Python. I think those two things. Like, check and see if the GCC compiler is in there.
So Perl, Bash, Python we're going to call those 100%. I mean, it's like, so 99.97% is Bash. And
wow. Yeah.
99.78% is Python. Perl is 100%.
So you're telling me
Perl is 100%.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're telling me there is 0.03% of the install base that have installed package stats that are adventurous enough to rip out Bash? Was Bash?
I don't know what you're doing over there. I guess you could.
They swap in Zish. They fully remove Bash.
But you have to remove it. I mean, that's like woof.
Yeah, because what happens if you run across a Bash script, which are extremely popular?
I guess CSH is enough POSIX compliant that you could maybe get away with that. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, you just have to go hand fix anything that doesn't quite translate over, right?
Wowzers. That sounds tough.
That's really cool, though. I love this. Now,
you could do what you want with these stats. They're kind of cool to look at. It's a little fun, like it says. So I don't know. It's cool stuff. Go check it out. And
if you want,
if you've
listened this far, then here's my pitch. You don't get a vote unless you install package stats. So if you want to have an influence on what these numbers, if you're the weird person, I don't know how weird it is, but if you're that person that rips out bash and replaces it with something, what is it? What are you replacing bash with? And what do you do when you run across a script written for bash?
Right.
You don't run it. I guess you write your own script, right? I guess that's the answer. But
well, I mean, I guess you're running it in Perl.
Ugh.
It sounds awful.
You know, it does sound awful. It sounds terrible. But yeah, so get your vote in. Install package stats. I still have an Endeavor box over here, and that's exactly what I'm going to do because I'm probably extremely vanilla, but still,
it helps the maintainers know what you're voting. You're basically voting for the thing that you want them to make sure is, going to be maintained.
That's right. Get out and vote. You gonna see us out there on the YouTubes? Because this video technically exists on YouTube in the future. If you're listening to the podcast, you get it like a week early.
Right.
So YouTube. Well, I guess you have to watch the whole episode to get the whole thing. But if you're waiting for the single issues in YouTube, you're waiting like a week for these.
Right.
But the whole show, it's there.
Absolutely.
Day one. And history episodes or any kind of educational thing that we do, that shows up on TILvids. So subscribe. I hate doing this part of the thing, but click on all the buttons and bells and whistles.
Ding some bells. Yeah.
Yeah. Do all that thing. Because it turns out we do like, did you know YouTube can do tweets? Well, sort of like toots. I should say toots. But they're not called toots either, and that's sad. But YouTube can do toots. And so if you're not on the tweeters or the mastodons or whatever, we mirror a lot of what happens on those places over on YouTube too. So you can still get that same content if you're not on those on those platforms.
Yeah.
So
we try to spread ourselves around to all the platforms so that everybody gets to enjoy.
Yeah, sometimes that's a little bit of effort.
Yeah, no doubt.
But it's there. It's out there. And of course, if you like the content, if you like the stuff, if you like our chatter, banter, talks, my pleas for you to install telemetry on your box, you can send us $1 or $2 over at Patreon. There's really cool stuff that you get. $1 gets you entry to the Lemmy server. You can sign up over there. So if you're not a fan of Reddit, but you like forums, that is quite literally, we have 3 places. We have the forum where you can just say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, that's just discussion.
We have a news place for all the news topics, and you can forum stuff under that.
Right.
And then we've got where our episodes happen. And if there's feedback, if you're not a YouTube person, you throw it through like the pipe thing, whatever that is. You do that thing, you can still come over to Lemmy.
Pipe is the word you're looking for.
Okay. You can come over to Lemmy still and leave a comment, and then we can just discuss whatever you wanted to say over there. So anyway, tracking free. I'm pretty sure Dan didn't install the Docker container that does the tracking.
I did not.
So we've. Oh. Yeah. But, whatever.
You come on over there and give us a little feedback on an episode, even, and that way it tracks with the episode that you want to give feedback to. And,
that's right. And that's what ends up in these episodes. That's this entire episode.
This whole episode. Yeah, we said we were going to do it, and we did.
Y'all gave enough info, feedback, stuff for us to be able to do this, and I love it so much.
I do too.
So $3 gets you early access to the show, a day or 2 early. $5 gets you access to the audio version of the chatter we do before and after the show, and sometimes it is sizable. The last episode, there was a full episode, dude. It was a full episode's worth.
Absolutely.
And so for $5, you get the podcast version of that, and then for $10, you get the full-blown video version of that, and on top of that, you can just sit in while we're doing this. So as I'm saying these words right now,
you get it live.
You could be in here listening to that and, dropping us little notes as we go on through the episode. Because I think Bruno's pretty keen on doing that. And it has shaped the show as we've done it.
Sometimes.
And like the ultimate form of feedback is that right there. But anyway, however you do it, however you contribute, however you consume, however you like to hang around in the circles, whether that means you're a lurker that does absolutely nothing but watch or listen, that's totally cool too. We appreciate you. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely.
And thanks for listening. And we'll see you again in the next one.